You would have noticed how much fraud there is at the moment, how many cases there are involving people who've lost money to criminals. So much of it is happening online. Jaco is the CEO of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners in South Africa. Jaco, afternoon to you. We're seeing so many incidents like this at the moment. Has there been a particular increase? Has there been an increase in particular types of fraud?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for hosting us. Yes, over a couple of years, we've seen a drastic increase in fraud, but not only locally, internationally. If we look at the figures that was given from our statistics, 5% of the gross revenue of organizations are being lost due to fraud. And this is not something that we've seen now. It's over the last 10 years about. So if you look at how much money flows through organizations, take 5% of that, you can determine how much money we lose. Now, over and above that, we've seen also that about 64% of all the frauds is being perpetrated by people internally within your organization. So that talks about the morals and values of those working for us. And that's a grave concern.
I mean, are there particular ways in which people are actually able to steal money? I mean, fraud is really a betrayal of trust. So in some ways, people seem to be pretty good at making us trust them.
Yeah, there's that saying, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So it doesn't matter what sector you're working in and what sector you are investing in. There will be fraud as long as there's money. So the thing is, and you were quite right, trust plays a huge role in how we want to deal and look at people. Warren Buffett actually said that there's 3 things that he looks at. And one of the things is integrity, how clever a person is, and his ability to adapt. Now, if you don't have trust or integrity, you don't need to look at any further at all the other things that you look into a candidate. So if with that said, people remain our biggest concern, but also they remain the biggest asset. So when we look at the various ways of detecting fraud, the hotline service or whistleblowers are number 1, 43% of all frauds being detected through whistleblowers. And that's why it's very important to also protect them.
What kind of interventions work? I mean, if you're running an organization, I know some people, have to go through training on an almost weekly basis to try and make sure they're not victims of fraud. Are there particular interventions you can make, particular ways of behaving?
Yeah, so if you want to appoint people, whether it's some consultants or fixed term or full-time employees, make sure that you employ experts. In our profession, it's certified fraud examiners. Now, certified fraud examiners are internationally appointed. They get a designation. They need to write 4 exams. They need to pass each exam at 75%. And then they also need to get and gather certain experience before they can get the certification. They are able to provide you with the necessary tools as well as policies and procedures, steps to take, mitigation steps to prevent fraud from occurring. You actually want to make sure that you apply the 80-20 rule, 80% proactive. That's in saying that you want to ensure that you don't pay out. You want to prevent it before you pay. And 20% would be reactive. That's going after the fraudsters, recovering your losses, clamping down on the assets. And that's one of the things that you want to do. Further, over and above that, you want to make sure that you've got the right policies and procedures in place. Now, if we look at the report to the nations, this is one of the reports that the ACFE release biannually, you would see that the company's losses that had all these steps and there's policies and procedures in place, and the right skilled people, they were able to mitigate their losses far better than any other organization. They were also able to detect it anything between 6 months and a year before any other company were able to detect that they've been defrauded. So you want to make sure that you've got that in place. More than that, you want to regularly talk to your staff about the morals and values. So when we talk about zero tolerance, for instance, you want to make sure that the senior structures, executives, managers, everyone talks the same talk. And when they see that there's fraud that's been perpetrated, that they go after the criminals, they report them, they open cases against them, and they also report the cases within the company. So they red flag them so that everyone else can see what happens if fraud's being perpetrated.
Do you think people take this seriously enough? The people who manage companies, for example, do they realise how dangerous this kind of fraud is and the damage to them if they're seen to lose money as a result?
Well, in the past, companies used to budget for this. It's sad to say, but this happened. And who pays the premium? We do, the normal citizen. If we look at the healthcare sector, we look at the insurance sector, they lose anything from and up to 35% of all claims are fraudulent claims. Now, that's people submitting false claims to get a TV, to use the neighbor's medical aid card so they can take their children. If there's still savings on the card, and then pay rather the person a premium for using the card. So with all this fraud, the premiums increased of the product, and we carry the burden of that. So number one, the public is at loss. When we look at organizations also lose a lot. If we look at the organization like Enron, 3,000 people lost their jobs because of 6 directors who manipulated the finances. Look at what happened with Steinhoff, VBS, and all the others. It's people who loses through the actions of the directors and executives, and even the auditors not picking this up. So both company and stakeholders, your shareholders, as well as the public, lose when we talk about fraud. And that's why we actually need to speak up about it. We need to go after it. Organizations need to implement the right tools. Nowadays, everyone talks about AI. There's so many tools that's available so that we can go after the fraudsters. Speak up if you see that you're earning the same salary as the person next to you, but he's driving a Porsche and you need to drive I don't want to say any other brand, but you need to start saying, listen, what's happening here? Why is this person going forward in life with the means that he's got, whereas I'm struggling? If we don't speak up, we all suffer. Look at the hospitals, the roads, infrastructure, and the rest. It's all because of many keeping quiet and not saying, listen, I've seen the following. Listen, I had to pay a bribe to a traffic cop. Listen, I had to pay a bribe to get my water and light switched on, or whatever. So we need to speak up, and we need to have the right tools in place. We need to start looking at professionalism within our organization. A lot of times we don't make use of professionals, thinking that, yeah, now I need to pay a person a professional body fee. They need to go on all this training. But just think of it. If you go to a doctor and the doctor is not using the latest techniques, he's still using a chainsaw to cut off your arm and not laser technology, will you go to the doctor? If not, why do you want to compensate and not get the professional to do the job that's expected, make money for your business, and make sure that he also looks after the reputation of your business? And this is something that we need to drive going forward.
Jaco, thank you. CEO of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners in South Africa. Do appreciate the time.